2020 New Japan Cup. Night 4 review. Night 5 preview. Thanks for joining me. I watched wrestling and I'm gonna watch more of it. Let's talk about it. Pow! Well, the first round of the New Japan Cup is over with. It's behind us. Overall, I think it's been a really fun cup so far. I definitely think that the fatigue of having a crowdless environment has started to show in nights 3 and 4. And I think that in night 2, that Nagata-Suzuki match just did a great job of pushing the negatives of the empty arena wrestling era down, just because of how physical the match was and how the empty arena almost enhanced the match. And so I think coming out of that night, my expectations just shot through the roof. And nights 3 and 4 brought me back down to earth a little bit. But it's still been a lot of fun, and I still know that there's a ton of potential for amazing matches and fun storylines and everything that comes with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So yeah, I'll dive into night 4. It was the bracket that was kind of the stinker of the cup. It just didn't seem interesting to me or anyone from what I can tell. And but I will say that I think that it did exceed my expectations slightly. My expectations were low, but it did end up being a fun show, fun enough show. So we started the night with Yo versus Bushi. This match was solid. I just wish that they would have leaned into their strengths a little bit more. I said in the preview that these guys could go out and have a sprint, a high-flying junior heavyweight match that'll stick out a lot on a card full of that comes with a lot of like really physical, like plodding, strong style guys. But instead, it felt like these two junior heavyweights went out and tried to have a heavyweight style match. And it was just kind of slower. It went over like 16, 17 minutes, I believe. And the pace just didn't work for me. But I appreciate what they were trying to do, trying to show that two juniors can bring physicality. It doesn't have to just be a heavyweight versus a heavyweight or even a heavyweight versus a junior. Two juniors can go out there and have a physical match. And you could tell that they were intentional about trying to show that. I just think that they should have stuck to their strengths and had Bushi doing some high-flying stuff, some high-impact stuff, and have Yo doing some fast-paced mat work and technical work. But it still ended up being a solid match. I just think that if they would have leaned into their strengths a bit more, they would have gotten more out of this matchup. But it was still okay. I'll give it 3.25 stars. Next was Yoshihashi versus Hiroyoshi Tenzan. This match definitely exceeded my expectations. Tenzan looked as fresh as he's looked since I've started watching this product, honestly. He went for a moonsault off the top rope and missed it, and he was planting hard across the ring and moving fast, and he just looked really fresh and really healthy and really in shape and ready to go, which is good. It seems like a lot of these older guys, this time off really has served them well. And someone like Tenzan, who, of any of them, anytime you see him wrestle, it just kind of gives you that cringy feeling like, oh no, this guy is just pushing it too far. He should not be in the ring right now. But he actually looked like he was comfortable in the ring for this match, which was cool to see. As far as Tenzan's performance, I thought it was a great performance, super physical, super intense, and he played the underdog really well, even though he was the bigger man. They told the story of the older veteran having to fight against the younger guy. My problem is just Yoshihashi, and I want to like Yoshihashi. I want to be able to get behind him. I just don't know what I'm supposed to think about him. I don't know what his character is. I don't know what... I just don't know anything about what he is supposed to be and what I'm supposed to feel about him. And so I just wish they would give him a clear direction. He just goes from being emotionless and kind of like not like a psychotic guy, but like some kind of like sociopathic, like, I don't show emotions, I just walk out. And then as matches progress, sometimes he just turns into this like intense, like he wants to be this strong style wrestler, and he has these intense facial expressions and yells, but not in like a way that agrees with how he acts like in his entrance. If you know Yoshihashi, you know what I'm saying. It's just inconsistent, and I don't know if that's the way he's booked or his own just ability to portray himself as a character, But I just wish they'd do something interesting with him. Either fully lean into him being an underdog every time he's in the ring, turn him into like a Daniel Bryan type character that's always fighting from beneath, that always has the odds stacked against him, or go the opposite direction and turn him into like this beast martial artist who can outclass anyone, and just get him off of the product for a while and bring him back as that, or turn him heel and just make him be a sniveling, conniving heel. I just think that there's so many options. They just need to commit to one, and I think Yoshihashi actually has the stuff to be a solid wrestler, because he showed it in this match. It's just that I can't get invested in his matches as the way they are unless they're above, in a way, incredible matches, and those are rare with Yoshihashi. So yeah, this definitely exceeded my expectations. I think I'll also go 3 1/4 on this. I really love the middle portion of this match. It's just that butterfly lock at the end and the finish. It just Yoshihashi doesn't do it for me, and yeah, so that brings the score down a little bit. But if just his character was more consistent and compelling, then I would have given this maybe a 3 3/4 or even 4 stars. But it's just hard for me to grasp on to his matches and really get invested in them, because I just don't know what to think about any of the stuff that he does or any of the ways that he portrays himself. I just ranted way too long about Yoshihashi, so you're welcome. But yeah, respect those guys. 3 1/4 stars. Tenzan looked great. Then we had the tag match. It was Chaos versus... Who was it Chaos versus? I'm completely blanking. Chaos versus LIJ. I believe it was Hiromu, Sonata, Shingo, and Naito versus Okada, Ishii, Yano, and... I don't know. I don't remember the fourth person on the Chaos team. But it was a really effective tag match. I'm not going to give it a rating. I'm just going to continue rating the tournament matches. But it was building towards being something that could even stick out as match of the night, even as a non-singles match. But it just got muddied down towards the end. They built up multiple rivalries. They built up towards Sho and Sonata. They teased Hiromu and Ishii. They built up towards Okada and... Well, they didn't build up towards Okada and Nagata. They built up towards Sho and Sonata. Yano and Hiromu was the other one. They were building up towards all these rivalries, but at the end, Yano drags Hiromu off into the backstage or hall side lobby area and ties him up and leaves him there, and they get a double count out, which was a finish that is unexpected in New Japan. But whenever the guys that came out, I was like, who's really going to take the pin in this match? So it wasn't overly surprising to me that they gave it this cop-out finish. So that was a little bit disappointing. But I get why they did it. They're probably going to bring that sort of story or theme or spot back up in the Hiromu Yano match, which will be interesting because we've seen it, and it'll build up intensity for that moment when it happens. And yeah, overall it was effective in doing what it needed to do on the card. Third, we have, and this is where the show really picked up. I really enjoyed these last 2 matches. I think they both... Well, one of them was about as good as I thought it would be, and this one really exceeded my expectations. Hiroki Goto versus Yujiro Takahashi. Takahashi looked incredible here. I have never seen Takahashi hold his own and portray himself the way he did in this match. Every step of the way, he just seemed to be Goto's equal. He just showed aggressiveness and physicality, and his character, the way that he... was getting away with things, but not doing it in a way that like seemed super underhanded. He was kind of just in your face, like, yeah, I'm a cheater, I'm a bad guy, but what are you going to do about it? Like, I just really enjoyed the way that he carried himself in the match. And whenever it came to Goto and Yujiro slugging in the middle of the ring, Yujiro was holding his own. I mean, anytime that happened, Goto usually ended up with the advantage, as that should be. But yeah, this just made me see Yujiro in a new light, and I think especially with the restricted roster that they have now, I wouldn't hate to see Yujiro in a never openweight match on some B-level show, like somewhere along the way. Especially with Jay White, I don't know when he's going to be able to be back in Japan. You can have Yujiro be like a de facto leader of Bullet Club for the time being. It sounds like I'm really being too high on Yujiro, but yeah, I was just super impressed with him during this match. I've never seen him work like this. He just really fit in, and he just showed what he can do in the ring, and it was a lot of fun. There wasn't a lot of drama in the match, which took away from it. The finish was never much in doubt. There was one moment where Jado got involved towards the end, and I thought that maybe they were going to do this big upset, but nah, they never were. Goto needs to move on. They need to move on the bigger names in this tournament to keep things interesting. So, yeah, just lacking drama, but the match quality itself and even the finish, the physicality of it, I'll go 3 3/4 stars. Like, it with added drama, it could have been in the 4 to 4.5 star range. I just think that it was a little bit hard to get invested, but with the way that they told the story of the match, it made me get invested, and I really enjoyed it. So I'd like to see more Yujiro, and yeah, Goto's always great. Goto's one of the most solid, consistent guys in the company. Then the main event, Evil versus Satoshi Kojima. This was about what I expected. I think I could say it slightly underwhelmed. It was physical. I think that the physicality and the strong style nature of the previous match, the Goto Yujiro match, kind of took away from this match, but it was still really solid. Kojima, like I said in the preview, he still has it. He can still go, and Evil's the best. And Evil was even getting extra creative in this match with like his chair spots on the outside. He instead of just doing the baseball swing and hitting it off Kojima's head, he like threw the chair into him and then like slapped the chair into his face and put a chair on his arm and threw it into the ring post. And it just felt like Evil was really trying to change things up and get creative coming out of quarantine, which was really cool to see. I mean, we still got some of the same Evil spots, the Magic Killer off the ref and the Darkness Falls, which always seems like it's going to be this big near fall, but it never ends up ever putting anyone away. It's a great move. I feel like it should put people away, but they always hit it, and everyone always acts like it could be the end of the match. It never is, and I think it's funny. So we got the same little things about Evil that are kind of annoying, and it's kind of easy to get tired of. But you could definitely tell he was motivated to mix it up and do something special. It was also a more focused Evil match than what I'm used to. It was a very, very narrow story, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that it was just focused. It was going in one direction the whole time. The story was Evil was working on Kojima's arm to prevent him from getting the full power behind his lariat, his finisher, and when it came to it, when Kojima finally did hit the lariat, he wasn't able to make the pin quick enough, and Evil was able to kick out, and then when he went for another later in the match, Evil countered with the Everything is Evil and beat him. And yeah, it wasn't even as physical as the match before it, which like I said, I think took away from it, but it told a good story, and it's fun to see Kojima go. I really, really hope we can see him in the G1 this year or next year, just sometime soon before it's too late. And that sounds really dark. I'm not saying that like it's too late, like Kojima, you know what I mean? Before he gets to the point where he's not as fresh and is not as spry, I guess, in the ring. So yeah, I'd love to see Kojima wrestle more, and this was cool to see him in a main event. And yeah, I love Evil, even though some of his stuff is getting a little tired. There's still plenty of, I said this in another video, so I don't want it to become like a cliche, but there's plenty of meat on the Evil bone. It's a lot. I don't know what I just said. You get what I mean. 3 3/4 stars. I think it was right on par with the previous match, which if you would have told me that I would have been giving Goto and Yujiro the same rating as Evil and Kojima, I would have been like, no way, but that's how it shook out. Yujiro really came off as like the star of the show to me, and for me, Goto Yujiro was match of the night. Just barely edging out Kojima Evil. So yeah, fun show overall. It definitely lacked anything. Every other show up to this point has had a 4-star match. We had Ishii versus Despy on night 1, Nagata versus Suzuki on night 2, and Shingo versus Sho on night 3. This lacked any match that quite reached that height, but front to back, it was a solid show. None of the matches were bad or boring or were uninteresting. It just lacked drama because this portion of the bracket just doesn't seem to matter much. And but other than that, it delivered. The guys came out and put on a good show, and so I enjoyed it. I'll give it a 6. I would have expected to give this a 4 or 5, and I'm here giving it a 6. So yeah, bunch of 3 to 3 3/4 matches all throughout this thing, and I enjoyed watching it. So check it out. I wouldn't say any of these matches are must watch, so don't go out of your way to watch these if you don't have the time, but it's worth it if you do. Fun little show for sure. With that, I'll jump into the preview of Night 5. We're getting into the second round. Things are starting to heat up a little bit and get a little more interesting. I'm going to go through this pretty quick. We have Makabe versus Ishii. This is going to be hard-hitting. Makabe sometimes can bore me a little bit nowadays, but whenever I first started getting into New Japan, Makabe was a bit more interesting than he is to me now, but I just realized that like all of his matches just feel the same to me, and I know that he just has other endeavors, and so wrestling might not be his number one priority or whatever, but he still is a fun wrestler to watch, and especially whenever he has a foil like Ishii, they're going to beat each other up. The ceiling for this match is like a Nagata-Suzuki type match. I just don't think that there is that Suzuki-like character in this match to bring it to those heights, so I'm expecting something like we saw at a Kojima and Evil or Goto and Yujiro, like a 3 3/4 match to this. And I think Ishii is going to move on with 80% certainty. I wouldn't be like completely shocked if they move Makabe on. I think they're around the same age, even though Ishii does seem to be more relevant today. Makabe does feel like he's graduated to the New Japan Dad part of the card, where Ishii is still in the main roster portion of the card. So I expect Ishii to move on, but you never know what they're going to do. So I'll go 80-20 Ishii. Then we have Yano versus Hiromu. This is going to be a ton of fun, I think. I know some people are going to hate it probably because it's going to be silly and it's not going to make sense at sometimes, and the ref is probably going to ignore 18 different elements of Yano cheating, but especially with the way they portrayed them on night 4 in the tag match where Hiromu is like deathly afraid of Yano for some reason. It's this weird thing that Hiromu seems like he's scared of nothing, but then Yano comes at him with like a silly little thing, and Hiromu seems like he's going to lose his mind. I think it's really funny, and I think it could be a really interesting match. They could go one way where Hiromu really isn't afraid of Yano at all, and he's just kind of putting this on, or they could tell the story that Yano really is Hiromu's like worst nightmare or something, and either way, I think it's going to be fun. I just hope it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think it'd be funny if Yano came out and tried to like really wrestle with Hiromu and do that shoot style, but more likely than not, he's just going to come out and wrestle the comedy style, and hopefully it won't go much more than 10 minutes, even less than if it's in my ideal situation, but I think it'll be fun. I think I'll probably end up giving it like 3.5 stars, but I understand if you watch it and you're not into that kind of thing and you want to give it a star or 2 stars. I just think it's two guys that I really enjoy, and I'm gonna have a fun time watching it. I'll go 80-20 Hiromu. I feel about as confident with Hiromu moving on as I do with Ishii. Yano always can play spoiler, though. I just think that they want to give us that Hiromu-Ishii match to really, like, give that big, certified banger of a match in the quarterfinals. So, yeah, 80-20 Hiromu. Next, we have Okada versus Nagata. The second singles match between these two ever. One of New Japan Pro Wrestling's greatest ever versus the current face of the company, and by the time it's all said and done, will probably go down as the greatest New Japan Pro Wrestler of all time. It's a really interesting dynamic that is going to be going on here. I don't think I've watched their first match. I want to go watch it before this show if I can, and do the same if you want to. I'm sure my camera's blinking. I hope I'm going to be okay. We'll see. But I think that could probably add a lot to this match if you go check out their previous match. I'm going to try to, because a lot of time these guys like to build on the precedent set in prior matches, and I think that they probably will do the same thing here. They're both super smart, cognizant wrestlers of the story they tell, and I'm super excited. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if it's going to lean more Nagata's style, where it's hard-hitting and Okada has to slow the pace down somewhat, and or if Nagata's going to try to keep up with Okada, and it's going to be more of a typical Okada-style match. But either way, I really enjoy both of these guys, and I'm expecting a 4-star match out of them. It wouldn't surprise me if it's higher than that, but I just feel like I want to temper my expectations a little bit with just the way these last 2 shows have gone. So I'll say 4 stars, and Okada's moving on. 99% sure. There's that 1% that Nagata's going to shockingly roll him up or get some kind of opportunistic victory, which I'd be super in with. I think it'd be interesting, but more than likely, more than likely, almost positively, Okada's moving on here, 99% sure. Then we have the unpredictable match of the 4, but also probably the least interesting, at least to me, probably. Kanemaru versus Ishimori. I know these guys have a history in Noah. I just am not that well educated on the matter, so I don't feel the added drama or intensity because of that. I know from listening to others that Ishimori has never defeated Kanemaru, which is interesting. And I know in the backstage promos that they've made that a part of the story. But Just for me personally, I'm not overly excited for this match, but they could go out and have a great match. I think Kanemaru is severely underrated, and Ishimori is properly rated. Everyone knows how good he is, and it's the truth. So yeah, this is going to be a fun match. I just don't think the winner of it really has any kind of a chance to move farther than the quarterfinals, and so it just loses some drama to me. I think Ishimori might have a chance to beat Okada. Kanemaru definitely would not beat Okada. So just for the sake of that, I will pick Ishimori to win this match. 60-40. I would say I would do the whole 51-49 thing, but I do just feel a slight nudge towards Ishimori. I think they're going to give him his first singles win over Kanemaru and establish him as one of the top juniors in the company because they need to establish strong challengers for Hiromu. And I think Okada Ishimori is a match that everyone will be extremely excited to see, much more than Kanemaru Okada, even though Kanemaru is great. And I would love if they started positioning him in a way on the card that made him more interesting and more intriguing. But for now, Ishimori is the guy that is going to get people to tune in to see his match with Okada. So just because of that, I'll go with Ishimori. But if they want to stick with this pattern of Kanemaru always defeating Ishimori, then more power to him. I'm a Kanemaru fan, but I just would be more interested in Ishimori Okada. What I'm expecting out of that match, 3.5 stars. I think it could be as high as 4 or as low as 3, but I think that it's just going to be safely there in that 3 to 4 star range. So yeah, that's the review of Night 4 and the preview of Night 5. New Japan Cup, man, we're in full swing now. We're moving on to the second round, and I'm just excited to see how things shake out. Things are going to get more and more unpredictable as we progress, but for now, hopefully the match quality can make up for the lack of unpredictability that seems to be plaguing this next night. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what direction they want to take this whole thing. Until then, I'll see y'all for the next review or preview, whatever it is. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, like and comment. Tell me what your favorite match of the first round was. If it's not Nagata Suzuki, you're wrong. Just kidding, you have your opinion. But yeah, it was Nagata Suzuki. Anyways, peace. I love y'all. See you later.